Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Heroes World Podcast Quarantine Edition. I am your host, Stupe. With me, as always, the owners and proprietors of the Heroes World store located in Markham, Ontario. That'd be John and Andre. Please say hello.
Hello, folks.
Hey, there was a little bit of lag there. Hi, everybody.
And of course, the Prince of Mischief himself, who's on the path that's being hunted down by the Time Variant Authority, Rob Gadet.
Why, hello, stewards Andre and John. It's so nice to see you.
Yeah, it's been like forever. I can't imagine when the last time I saw you guys were.
I have not left this office, and I've been wearing these clothes for the last 3 days. Boy, do I need a shower.
Is this your Jim Carrey do not go in there situation?
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you all for joining us. Of course, the Heroes World Podcast is basically conversations we'd have in the store if we were able to get together. We're recording them so everyone can be a fly on the wall, listen in as we talk about pop culture, video games, Star Wars, Marvel, all that jazz. So hopefully, if you enjoy this content, share, subscribe, like, comment below, do all that fun stuff. So the Marvel and these Marvel / Star Wars / National Geographic / all that stuff happened in the Disney Investor Summit that happened on Thursday. So we're just gonna have our thoughts. I know a lot of people have already had their thoughts.
Wait, National Geographic is under the Disney umbrella now?
Yeah.
Always has
Wow.
been.
Wow.
You know what, John? You should
checked
take,
out
you should
Disney
take a
Plus.
look. You should take a look at the sign behind you, John, because I'm fairly certain that National Geographic is on
It's farther
over your
front.
left
Yeah.
shoulder.
Move the Star Wars one a little farther. Yeah, it's there. Yeah,
I look back, it's not actually physically there.
Just move this a little more. It's there. Anyways, so it's there, including stars for those international listeners. We're gonna get stars, which will have FX and Fox and mature content. So that's what's coming to us soon. So nonetheless,
Power Book 3.
the stuff. If it was John's choice, we would be talking about Three Men and a Baby, the new one starring Zac Efron. So that if that was John's
My
case,
guy.
I knew when that happened. It's like John's like Zac Efron.
Here, I'll give you my 10-year Disney membership money up front.
This is all he needs is one of the three guys. John, if you could do it, it'd be like Zac Efron, Tyrese, and who's the third man of the three men and a baby? Is it
Army Hammer, come on.
Army Hammer?
Yeah, I was gonna say we gotta throw an Army Hammer
Throw an Army Hammer.
just to continue the tradition in this podcast. Andre's like, why do you like these guys?
So Disney.
Wait, and it's got to be written by
John Favreau.
John Favreau.
This is a
3 Men and a Grogu.
Oh, and
Yeah, the baby's the Grogu.
And it's written by Favreau, but it's directed by J.J. Abrams. So this is what it has to be. It has to be a very particular combination of people.
Produced
taking over
by
for Joss
Kathleen
Whedon.
Kennedy.
Yep. And there's a cameo by Kevin Smith. So here we go.
Oh, yes.
Oh boy. Okay.
And Ryan Reynolds can voice Grogu.
There you go.
Like Detective Pikachu. It'll be
Yeah,
a grown-up Grogu.
It's just the license to print money. This is where we're going at.
Oh, man.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about our thoughts and outside of the Disney Plus thing, the National Geographic stuff. Just to let you know, looks amazing, John. So get on it. They
My
as a quick
daughter
note,
does like sharks and bugs and stuff.
they
so
did
let's go.
mention for those of you who aren't into National Geographic, they had authorization to film in some of the national parks in America during the pandemic shutdown. So basically, the parks were empty of humans. They would fly drones into the parks and get perspective of an touched national parks in America. So it's going to be some awesome drone HD footage. So this is just in the background while you're playing Cyberpunk 2077, but the visuals.
It'd be great if the Animal Kingdom took down some of those drones and they were just like, stop sending these drones into our hood.
Yeah. It will be Vin Diesel and Tyrese with the birds snipering them down from the ground.
Oh God.
It'll be Tyrese and Vin Diesel doing a singing
Vin
duet.
Diesel, like,
That's what
punching
you
them
would
out.
see. You would see. They're like, nobody's around. Nobody can hear us singing.
We all heard that Vin Diesel song that I passed in the chat.
Yeah,
we
so
know he's an artiste.
You can't trash talk Tyrese though. It's the voice of an angel.
We can. We're
And
gonna
we
go-
can-
Well, stop,
continue to.
please.
Okay. We're doing this because we're dreading talking about all the other content that's coming. There's so much. Okay, so Marvel Studios announcement Investor Day. It started off with a fun note because they did the Pixar thing and they announced that Chris Evans is going to be the voice of Buzz Lightyear, the actual Buzz Lightyear that the toy is based of. And he said, "Don't tell Kevin Feige that we're taking Chris Evans." And boom, it slashed and it moved into Kevin Feige talking about Marvel. So I really enjoy.
So what, Tim Allen is out?
So they talked about how they've always talked that Buzz Lightyear, the toy, is based on Buzz Lightyear, the movie, the TV show, like the cool franchise. So the Buzz Lightyear movie is like the science fiction, like action movie that we all thought it would be. It's like buying the Vin Diesel toy. It's like, well, it's not the same as Vin Diesel and Fast and Furious. So that the Vin Diesel, like the Buzz Lightyear toy was always based on the live action or whatever movie. And it's supposed to be caricature of that. So now they're going to give us the full Buzz Lightyear like
Interesting
movie where he's a badass, and that's basically voiced by Chris Evans. So it's going to be interesting to see how that.
I hope they go the route of Ratchet and Clank and make it like Captain Quark.
You know what? It wouldn't be a bad idea, Andre, that they went something different, because I think they're going to phase it out. Because if you look at the picture of Buzz Lightyear, it's more like a more realistic, and I think the Buzz Lightyear toy is more of a caricature, like you do when you see the toys, like when you see the Hasbro / GI Joe like big block toys, like you saw of the GI Joe figures compared to the cartoon. They're more angular and more ridiculous. Like when you see Duke, the chin is so much more like weird compared to the cartoon. Like it's really just like surely it can cut glass. So this is what it's all about. I'm sure people listening to Pod are really excited about that. But okay, let's go into the Disney stuff. So there's so much to talk about, but I'm going to ask everyone, starting with John, out of all the announcements that you heard, what was the biggest surprise of all the Marvel announcements? What was something that you walked going, that's different?
Biggest surprise for me, if we're talking Marvel,
Just
is
Marvel, yeah.
A new Fantastic Four movie announced before the whole X-Men franchise returning. Like, why? Like, is this going to be the trifecta of them screwing up Doctor Doom, or are they finally going to get it right? But I'm surprised that Fantastic Four was before something new, X-Men, Wolverine, anything. You know what I mean? So,
well, is it a surprise, Robin and Andre? Because the X-Men are still fresh in our minds, as how bad that was. And also the mutants are kind of a weird thing. Like people still kind of like the mutants, but no one cares about the Fantastic Four. So
no, the Fantastic Four have not had a good movie, period. Sure, the X-Men have had 10 movies, but at least 1 or 2 of them have been decent. And even like John said, no matter what, Wolverine is a bigger character than any of the Fantastic
even a
Four
Wolverine
combined.
project. Yeah.
So
and if you want that Hugh Jackman cameo, he's still.
But I think there's a higher approval rating for Hugh Jackman, and people like James Marsden as Cyclops. Like there's an association with that franchise where there's more positives than negatives, as opposed to none of the Fantastic Four movies do you care about any of them. And the best part of any of them, Chickless, like he was great, but he was under all that costume stuff, and like that was
him and Evans, but Evans busy being Buzz Lightyear.
Captain America. So like they
Captain America, Buzz Lightyear now, and other extracurricular activities.
Like Rob, were you surprised with that news that about
Fantastic Four? Yeah, I mean, I was. To be honest with you, I never even thought, they're going to be making an announcement like that. I mean, I have a lot of thoughts on this entire thing and a lot of surprises. One of which was that this was more like a DC fandom than a normal investors call. And
they did a better job in the fandom.
I'm not necessarily sure about that. But I am surprised that they announced John Watts as Fantastic Four. There is some articles that were published just following this on Friday and Saturday online about this. John Watts may have been the if you remember about a year ago, Sony and Marvel, they're like, we're done. We're not doing any more Spider-Man movies. That was it. And apparently it was to do with John Watts moving over to do Fantastic Four. He's obviously currently filming the 3rd Spider-Man movie, but about that I guess Sony wanted to keep him in their production facilities to do more stuff, and Marvel said no, we want him for Fantastic Four. So whatever his take is, obviously going, it's enough that Marvel fought tooth and nail to get this guy. So I guess you can only say in Watts we trust. But to Andre's point, we just had an X-Men movie last year. and we haven't had a Fantastic Four movie since 2015. So yeah, I guess if you're looking at it chronologically, it makes sense that we don't have anything with the X-Men, although something tells me that they will be worked in pretty quickly in the next year or two with the Eternals and potentially that Deadpool movie. So
Not quickly enough.
Yeah. Any other surprises, John, before I jump over to Rob?
No, that's like a whole bunch of dates of stuff that we don't like. Who knows when that's going to happen? But yeah, that was the one that stuck out to me.
We'll get to it. Okay, Rob, what was your biggest surprise?
The overall biggest, well, I guess for me is I was my biggest surprise what we didn't see. We didn't see a trailer or a teaser or a sizzle reel for Spider-Man that they've been filming. There was a lot of talk that Disney/Marvel were going to be dropping something for Spider-Man 3, which is what we're calling it. We just had a bunch of announcements last week with Alfred Molina and this and that. So I kind of thought that there would be a bit more definitive information there. I was very surprised at the amount, just the sheer amount of content being broken up between MCU theatrical and then the Disney Plus. It's staggering and almost a bit overwhelming, to be very honest with you, especially when their time frame for most of this is in the next 2 to 3 years. So we're looking at 2023 at the latest. Let's call it 2 years because we're not that far off from 2021, as crazy as it sounds. Also surprised that
it makes a lot of sense, but in the terms of content, all these episodes, well, I was surprised to say Loki's going to be 6 episodes. Like all these Disney Plus shows are like, Falcon and the Winter Soldier is only 6 episodes. So like if you think about how much there is, it's actually not that much because they're not doing 22 episodes. It's just enough that every few months there'll be a new show for 6 weeks and then it's done. And then a month will happen, and next show will happen for like 6 weeks. And it's
I'm not. So I don't necessarily mean the quantitative amount of episodes. I'm talking about the quantitative amount of titles. Like it's a lot. There's a lot that they have a lot of, stokes in the fire, right? So
but they took a year off, basically. They took
I get it, but still, I mean, what were they doing? 2 to 3 movies at most a year, and even then that was, at 3 you're kind of like, okay, that's good, right? Now you've got 3 movies a year being announced, plus you've got 4 shows a year. Like it's just a lot. So at any rate, and I was also surprised that there wasn't a confirmation on the Deadpool stuff. Like there's been things that have been kind of confirmed, and yet they didn't highlight it in this. And the only reason I bring this up is because Kevin Feige reminded everybody that Blade is still on the horizon with information coming in the near future. So if you're taking the time to at least mention that, then I'm surprised that you didn't mention anything about Spider-Man 3 or Deadpool. So.
Maybe they're leaving Spider-Man 3 for Sony to get some type of buzz, right?
Or to Andre's point, I think they're holding it because when Black Widow comes out, they'll put the trailer to force people to go to the theaters, entice them to go and be like, here is something that you can watch. Here's some
old
stuff
school,
because they know.
Yeah, but that's not, you don't have Black Widow is still scheduled for May of 2021. Spider-Man 3 is next year as well. Is it not, or is it moved?
Eternals is November 5th.
November 5th, 2021. But I feel like I
July
thought that Spider-Man's okay. So maybe Spider-Man's now moved to 2022. Okay.
Can we talk a little bit about Spider-Man? Do we have a little bit of time?
Yeah, Andre, go for it. Yeah.
So I'm just really curious to get all your guys' takes on the Spider-Man, all these announcements, because in I'll give you my take first. I'm like, unless these guys are cameos, I don't see what the point of bringing these actors in. Half of the people that are going to these movies probably haven't seen the Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans.
They will by the time I think
they're too young, right?
They're trying to up the streams,
right? But but again, why spend the money? And then we're just coming off of a couple years ago that fantastic animated movie called the Spider-Verse, Into the Spider-Verse, and they're making a sequel to that. So listen, I don't think that live action can hold a candle to what they did animated wise. And I don't see why bringing Kirsten Dunst, Alfred Molina, what's the guy's name? Garfield and Tobey Maguire. And I love Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, but I'm like, what's the point? Like, if these guys were cameos, I would rather not have heard that they were in it. And you just go, oh, look, that's Alfred Molina. What's he doing there? Or whatever. But this, let's name another movie that has this many characters and was good.
So to your point, Andre, I think what they're doing is because of the pandemic and because of things. And now that these Marvel movies are just an event, you look at what happened in Civil War and you look at what they're doing, an elevation of characters, because you want to ensure that each movie is making $1 billion. And by including an actor like, like Tobey Maguire for like 10 million, or I think the rumor was he wants 15 million for the movie. It's like peanuts. They're like, okay, we'll give $15 million for the third act. For the rumors are basically him and Andrew Garfield are only going to be in the third act. But this is like a mini tiered story arc, which would be Wandaverse, which would lead into Spider-Man, which would lead into Doctor Strange. Yeah. And I think they're doing it to the small arc because of what happened in the pandemic, because they want to do bigger story arcs, but because of what happened with COVID, it changed the way that Marvel was going to do things. And I also think that the rumors that Kevin Feige just wants to stick it to DC, which is amazing because this multiverse stuff is coming out conveniently before the Flash reboot, where there's 3 Batman. Now there's going to be 3 Spider-Man, and God help us, please let Nicolas Cage show up as Batman Noir. Then my mind would be like, I'd stand up
Spider-Man Noir
forever and a day. Like even if he just showed up wearing a black suit, because he's ready to go. Just show him,
But again, so do you don't think they're trying to make a good movie? They're just trying to make a spectacle.
I think they're gonna make the movie they think is the best for Marvel and the people that want to watch it. I think like
the best for money.
Well, so
is that the best
for sure?
Art and entertainment. Like again, this is entertainment. This is not the Nolan Batman where it's very grounded. This is a Marvel like set piece of like, hey, this is what we do. Like you talk about a movie like the, Magnificent Seven, where they had a lot of characters. You talk about the Dirty Dozen, like these classic movies where lots of actors were in it. It was a golden age of movies where you'd have remember the Crash of the Poseidon or whatever. Like there was times in the 70s, Andre, where when movies were like 12 deep of actors, and then it changed when movies
like Towering Inferno.
But those were stories, and they weren't grabbing. They didn't have to worry about timelines. I guess my other question, or maybe I should have phrased it this way, is like, what does Marvel have to gain by acknowledging all the pre-MCU movies?
Well,
right? Like, why do that?
It's the multiverse, right? Because the other rumor for Doctor Strange is that they're going to bring in all the actors that were second runner-ups. So there's rumors that were going around that everyone that was that almost was in a Marvel movie is going to show up and cameo as the Avenger that they were supposed to be. So
like John Krasinski was Captain America.
Emily Blunt would show up as Black Widow just as a second. Like Tom Cruise is going to be Iron Man. They're going to have all these random cameos of Joaquin Phoenix as Doctor Strange. Everyone that was close to him, they're just going to basically open it up so and it opens up to have another, to be fair, another Chadwick Boseman, because they're not going to recast him, as they said, though. So if they open up this multiverse, they can basically add in new actors.
But that's, like I said, that's getting people that were for the MCU. Why acknowledge that the other Spider-Man movies existed, or acknowledge that the other Blade existed, or that the Fantastic Four movies existed? Like, to me, the best part of the MCU was, hey, we're starting fresh at Iron Man and going forward. You could have a multiverse that's cool, but you don't have to reference stuff that I don't want to say it's irrelevant, because we enjoyed those movies, growing up. I just don't see what they have to gain by doing it. So
they don't have anything to lose, in the sense that they are going to be paying. It's a fan service. It's going to be fun for individuals, like you said, that grew up watching this stuff. Although I was in my 20s when it came out, and to what Stu was saying is that the younger kids will probably now start watching, the Sam Raimi trilogy, the Mark Webb, 2 movies that he did with Garfield.
Yep.
My only concern on what they're doing, I think it's going to be fun. I think how Civil War was not Winter Soldier. Civil War was something different, but it was fun. And it gave you a bit of a precursor to what Infinity War was going to be. Sorry, I know, Andre. But it was fun. I think that this movie will be fun. My only concern, though, is that the first 2 Spider-Man movies were very grounded, and they were separate from what you saw Tom Holland's portrayal as Peter Parker / Spider-Man in the spectacle movies. And if you're taking him now and putting him into a spectacle movie, how do you still keep that sense of the grounded hero that we've had in these past 2 movies? So my concern is that, but I'm going to tell you, I'm kind of excited to see what they're going to do. The geek in me, or the fanboy or whatever, is kind of excited to me. And the fact that it's looking like Charlie Cox from the Netflix Daredevil will be showing up in this, and potentially also in She-Hulk. Like, all that stuff is just mind-blowing. We're at a point where things that we talked about in the store, leaning up on the counter, talking about this stuff, like, wouldn't it be cool if you saw this, is actually coming to fruition. So all I think we can do is hold on to our seats and just try to enjoy this ride as much as it is, because the reality is eventually there's going to be a drop. It's the floor will drop out from underneath us, and we'll be like, oh. But hopefully, things are progressing in a good trajectory. So I'm pretty excited for it. But I don't think they have anything to lose. We also don't know what's going on behind the scenes with Sony and Marvel. Maybe they're going to have some of a deal where those Spider movies were going to be dropping on Disney Plus beforehand. So we don't know.
Yeah. John, your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know. I think, like Andre says, like, throwing that many things into a pot is a recipe for disaster. Like, they kind of did it for, like, we saw it with the X-Men movies, right? Days of Future Past kind of worked.
Yeah.
And then they fixed everything. And then they proceeded to fuck it up after, right?
But you gotta look at a different studio, John. Like, that was
Fox. Yeah. I'm kind of like, I don't really like Rob makes a good point there. I really like the first two Spider-Man films. So if this is going to be nothing like those, like kind of like Winter Soldier transitioning to Civil War, which was kind of like nothing like the previous movie, I'm slightly concerned. But I guess
you're going to watch it though.
That's what people. Maybe not. I don't know.
You will. You'll drop your money on the.
I feel like it is a recipe
John,
for disaster.
You're gonna have to watch it because we're gonna talk them on the pod. So yeah, don't pretend you're not gonna watch it. It's like, maybe that's like if they. We're forcing you to watch it. And John, you've seen so many bad movies. This is not going to be anywhere near that. So
no, but I'm just saying. I think it is, in theory, a recipe for disaster. But we'll hope that it comes out as some fancy cake.
They've had lots of experience adding these characters, and we'll see how much.
It could literally be like a 1 minute
difference
pan.
Between this and for example Justice League is at least most of these characters have been introduced in other avenues, and you don't need an introduction of like, let me tell you who I am. It's like you see them, and you're like, I know who you are. Carry on. Like this is not a big deal. It's some franchises do a good job of integrating, and some don't. But
let's also don't forget though, there's that meme that was going around that's Into the Spider-Verse made fun of at the end of it as that trailer about the two Spider-Mans looking at each other. Yep. Like, just thinking that 2-second meme or GIF or whatever you want to call it has transcended popular culture in and of itself gives rise to the argument that this movie will likely work because people will just watch it.
I think it's what people. I think it's what people want to see. Yeah,
and to be frank, they joked in the Spider-Verse multiverse that they're like, well, there's a Spider-Man that dances, so they've already made fun of that one and they acknowledge that one exists. Yeah, so like it's only a matter of like live action, or Tom Holland maybe shows up in a animated version of himself in the next movie. Like, I'm just happy that I'm waiting for this to kind of go and we get Miles next. It's like I would love a Young Avengers style thing next, and based on all the shows and stuff, it's coming on the docket. What, John, that we talked about as far as what are you most excited with all the Marvel?
Well, did Andre have like something that was surprising to him, or was that kind of like the thing that would surprise you, Andre?
I thought Andre was Spider-Man, but yes, go for it, Andre. Did you have anything that surprised you?
I would agree with what Rob said with just the sheer volume of stuff. I was really surprised. Now, even if we take off the stuff that they had already announced, like WandaVision, Loki, and Winter Soldier, they still, I think, announced way too much stuff. I don't think we'll see part of it. But I will say the thing that surprised me, I was like the Secret Invasion show with Sam Jackson and the other guy. I'm like, why? Like, I you know what? I'm gonna say it. Like these guys now, like they've got so much on their plate. There's no way in hell that this is gonna be consistent or have any type of continuity. Because
it's kind of like when comics, when they they've
now oversaturated. I don't know how you have, Secret Invasion happening 2 months after Infinity Gauntlet when half the universe died, and there's no way they're going to give us de-aged Sam Jackson. It's going to cost too much money to put it back then.
They already have it. They have the technology.
Andre, black don't crack. Black don't crack.
No, I'm saying they could use current. Well, see, I don't know anything about it, but I'm just looking at it, and I would just say, that one I just like,
Well, and the Armor Wars. Like to go coincide with what Andre is saying, Armor Wars, I was really surprised at as well. So Secret Invasion, Armor Wars, I'm surprised that you're taking those.
Yeah, and I will add to that is that it's cool that Marvel's using all of these, names of pre-existing stories, but it's not cool at the same time because they're going to be so different that when somebody walks into the store and says, "Hey, can I get the Secret Invasion trade where Sam Jackson, Nick Fury goes and does all this?" I'll say, "Yeah, no, you can't because it doesn't exist." Hey, can I get Armor Wars where War Machine goes and re-gets all of... And I said, no, you can't. You can get this one where Tony Stark... But Tony Stark's dead. He's not there anymore. So I'm just, as a retailer...
We'll get stickers, Sam Jackson stickers, and we'll just stick them inside the book.
Yeah, like, it just... to me,
on people's faces. He's right there. See him right there.
They should have just created, like, new names of stuff, because while it's inspired by loosely, there's literally no... there's no connective tissue for us to sell
and they could stuff. They could put inspired by Secret Invasion. Then people are kind of more prepared that, oh yeah,
As we discussed in the previous pod, now that Marvel's now entrenched themselves in the comic division, we're now all going to get everything streamlined. So whether you like it or not, it's going to be like...
No, I'm for the streamlining, but them naming these things after it and it's not going to be the same. There's literally no reason for us as a store to be like, oh, we better stock up on Armor Wars, the trade, Armor Wars 2, and Secret Invasion. Whereas when a movie like Hellboy came out, we could stock up on Hellboy trades because that movie was that. When Sin City came out and people, oh, I love the movie. Can I get more? Sure, here you go. And we sold a boatload of that. Transition to all the new Marvel movies. We didn't sell a single copy of Age of Ultron when the Age of Ultron movie came out.
Or Civil War.
We didn't sell it. Well, we sold a couple Civil War because there's bits and pieces. Yeah. But not in the same degree as when you actually honor the source material. Could they have made a War Machine short series and called it something else? Damn sure they could, because there was times when Jim Rhodes took over as War Machine when Tony Stark wasn't there, right? And I think that would be a better segue because at least I could sell, that book, right? So from a sales standpoint, I don't know. And but that's my piece.
So okay, I totally makes sense, and that's a theme that we've talked about numerous times before. John, most excited about as we jump through?
Excited. I'm excited that Black Widow's got a new release date. Hopefully they stick to it. ScarJo definitely deserves to get her spot in her time in the spotlight. And then the accompanying Winter Soldier Falcon show, when they mentioned it's basically a 6-part movie done in TV form. Excited for that, and it feels a little bit more towards the Winter Soldier line. So I've got my fingers crossed with that. But the most exciting thing that I saw was they actually showed footage for the Miss Marvel show with the girl Edema or whatever. And I was surprised that they actually had footage, and she looks charming as hell. So I can kind of, I don't know if that's how she got the part or whatever. They kind of show them revealing it to her and stuff. So that was probably the kind of because I saw the excitement, kind of like, oh, get to play the character. And then they added they showed off all the directors and stuff, and they're all of that culture. So I feel I don't know what it is. Is it supposed to be a TV show, like a
TV show that turns into a 20 movie because she's 20-30 minute Marvel too? So that was the big thing, interesting too.
Yeah, so I'm interested to see this kind of like different take, and the show did look kind of like colorful and fun. So yeah, that I was pretty excited when I saw that. I was surprised to see that.
Rob?
Yeah, it's interesting because there's a lot. Like, I was kind of excited about hearing about Captain Marvel 2, which I think a lot of people don't really have a lot of high regard for the first movie. I thought it was all right, but I'm a 90s, that's my era. So
there were continuity errors, but yeah.
So I was kind of excited to hear about Captain Marvel 2, especially seeing how excited Brie Larson was to be working with the director and our fellow Markham resident, Ms. Marvel. But for me, I guess if I'm looking at stuff, I can say, well, I'm excited for these announcements, but I want to go more what I saw. And that Falcon Winter Soldier clip was amazing, but I was not expecting how much fun Loki trailer was. Like, that to me, I was like, whoa. We mentioned it before. These are 6-issue, episodes, or 6 episodes. Sorry, not issues. 6 episodes that run for about 6 weeks. You've got, the first one, WandaVision's January. You have Winter Soldier is March, and then you've got Loki May, and then Hawkeye in the fall. But I'm like, holy moly, like, that Loki stuff looked awesome. putting him into historical moments. I mean, we've seen this in other shows and other movies. But Quantum Leap anybody, but it was, to see him. And I think actually, Stu, you sent me a message, and I was thinking the same thing. I was like, is he like DB Cooper? Is that what we're witnessing? Like, we are seeing him interjecting himself into these historical moments, and it looked a lot of fun. I was a little bit concerned going into this series. Like, I don't know. I feel like they've overplayed Loki's hand too much, but man, Owen Wilson, being, goofy Owen Wilson. Oh, okay, man. Like, I'm down for
it. The nerds out there went closed captioning, and Owen Wilson's character is Mobius M. Mobius. So that's who he is. So
okay.
If you do closed captioning, that's who the character is. So
yeah,
Mobius M. Mobius, and Andre, if he can give us some historical context, is, one of those random characters, part of the time variant authorization crew. So
yeah. So anyways, that's what, for me, if I'm going to go with everything, there's a lot to be excited about, but what I could see, that Loki was the most exciting for me.
Andre?
Surprise.
I'll second with John. Seeing the Miss Marvel stuff and seeing the her phone call, that was kind of exciting, because now finally, as it's not from just the pictures that we had seen before, but I can totally now confirm that she was a customer at the store. I served her many times buying. She loved to buy back issues and stuff. And it was funny because just this past week at the store, one of her friends came in to buy her her Christmas present and stuff like that. So that was cool to see that, and know hopefully that she enjoyed coming to the shop, and her passion for comics landed her where she is. So if we played a little bit of that, that's kind of cool.
Okay, so biggest disappointment, letdown, John. What was the thing you left? What was the thing you wanted?
I am very surprised that we've got nothing for Shang-Chi, really, other than a date. We've got no official image of Simu Liu in costume. I've seen a CG render. I've seen people sneak behind the scenes footage.
Yeah.
So I feel like and it's next in line after Black Widow, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like they're not giving him any hype.
I think it's they're waiting for the right time.
Yeah, I guess they're waiting, but you see people leaking footage. He's posted that it's wrapped. You've seen footage of stunt work. Like, why not like a little clip of something that's going on? So that's kind of what I would at least like an official image of him as Shang-Chi instead of these
a movie poster at least.
Yeah, that too. We didn't see anything of the Eternals either. Like, there's nothing about the Eternal. That movie's been wrapped for a while now. Like, we saw concept art for.
But he's the star guy. I forgot what his name is. He's been featured on covers of magazines and stuff like that. And Simu Liu, he's basically doing it all himself. He's posting on his social media and stuff. I feel like he's not really getting any support. But maybe like you said, it's all coming.
It's different. Yeah. I think right now they're just keeping it close to the vest because they there'll be times where they want to steal.
They might be just waiting, but I would have liked to see a little something like, he on Instagram, he posts pictures. He's ripped as hell too. Where's his cover for Men's Health? You know what I mean? So,
not as ripped as Kumail. Kumail was ripped.
But you know what? This is
his was a transformation, but he did he's posted pictures and he looks good.
I'm going to second that with John, because this is Marvel's next in line after Black Panther, and they're the ones toting that they're about inclusivity and diversity and all that stuff. Sure, we got the confirmation of who else is in that movie, but they should have had a sizzle reel, a behind the scenes, or anything for that movie. And it's not going to take away Black Widow's thunder if that's what they're worried about, right? Like, that movie's been done. They need to, this movie's coming out. It's important that this movie does extremely well. They should almost be marketing this movie more, especially where we are now with the pandemic and all of this stuff and people blaming. So this movie needs to be positive. DC needs to get behind it. Not DC,
Marvel.
Disney and Marvel
DC should get back
behind it. And they just need to.
I'm just saying right now, I want to say it out loud. Chinese New Year's coming up. I think they're just waiting for Chinese New Year.
But I feel like they
Chinese New Year's 2 months away, though, is it not? Isn't it in January?
Yeah.
So that's 2 months after this announcement.
Yeah,
so
it's like a month away. Like, I feel like it's a month away they're gonna do it. It's just during the time when it makes most sense.
I'm just saying they should have given him something. Like, what is he gonna pop on social media and go, hey, check out the Disney
for sure.
Disney investor meeting where they mention my movie by name and that's it. You know what I
No,
mean?
I don't
I'm just saying.
disagree with you, John, and I think John Andrew make a very fair point. I will say though, if you're actually looking at the things that were announced in the sizzle reels and everything else, it was only for Disney Plus shows. The posters and sizzle reels were only for Disney Plus shows. There was no theatrical.
So that's a good point. Yeah.
There's no theatrical sizzle reels or posters mentioned at all. It was just dates, and that's all.
Yep. And any other final thoughts on the Marvel stuff before we jump over to Star Wars? Any other additional things like to point before I'll jump on Rob, sorry. Like they confirmed things that we already knew, like Haley Steinfeld, like, oh yeah, she is, Kate Bishop, great. The internet, all the stuff.
Tatiana Mosley or whatever, if confirmed that She-Hulk.
Yeah, but that was so stupid. Like that just
off, like the big news there is like, oh, it's gonna be a comedy. Mark Ruffalo's involved. Tim Roth is in it. Rob was Tim Roth. I'm like, I love Tim Roth. I'm in. There's things that.
Hang on, I like Tim Roth as well, but the Abomination was crap.
the Moon Knight thing, that was surprised that they didn't mention anything who's starring in Moon Knight. Maybe it's not confirmed. Maybe it isn't. Maybe he's too busy being Solid Snake to be, Moon Knight. But because all the
that's cool. Stuff, I didn't realize they didn't announce him. So there's hope. There's hope.
You can look at it that way.
yeah. Marvel seems to like to cast guys who are nominated for Oscars. So that's the thing. Okay, so that's it. Any final thoughts before we jump over? There's so much news about people casting and stuff like, but
the only thing I wanted to ask people is about the Black Panther 2 news, where they said they weren't going to recast Chadwick Boseman character, but then they also said that he was the Black Panther and they're not recasting that role.
Yeah.
So what does that mean for Black Panther in the comics? Shuri took up the mantle. So are they not going in that direction? Because I would rather see that. I don't want another actor stepping in necessarily into that role as T'Challa. I'll tell you what I don't want to see is Rob, I don't want to see the ancillary characters and the world of Wakanda.
He didn't say Black Panther. He said there will be no one being T'Challa. Kevin Feige said we will not be replacing T'Challa. So I think he didn't say Black Panther. I think he said that. So that opens up for Shuri to be Black Panther. This could be
now whether she gets recast because of her anti-vaccination.
Eventually we got forgiveness. So that's another thing too. I to your point, I think it could be during the snap that they could do the movie. They're like, we're gonna pivot to like he's not here because of the snap. Like this is why he's not here. Like there was a 5-year gap where someone had to, because Shuri was around, right? Was she out of existence?
No, she got snapped too.
You got snapped too. So there has to be something that happened during that time frame. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I believe in Kevin, like Ryan Coogler. So I'm sure he'll figure out a way. Any other final thoughts before we jump to Star Wars? Okay, we'll come back to it. All right. And finally, the other giant news was Star Wars news that popped out. Not as much as the Marvel stuff, but we had a lot of announcements, a lot of movies, a lot of stuff we already knew already, just like Marvel. Like a lot of the Marvel announcements we've been talking about through either the Sidekicks Show or we've mentioned on this podcast for 7-8 months now. But some of the Star Wars news dropped that we were very genuinely surprised about, whether it was Patty Jenkins and her Star Wars movie, Rogue Squadron, or the fact that they never mentioned that, the Benioff and Weiss Star Wars thing's gone, the Rian Johnson's trilogy, nowhere to be seen. There's a lot of Star Wars stuff that was announced, and they're like, let's never talk about it again.
They were like the penguins in Madagascar. You didn't see anything.
Yeah, it didn't work out. We're gonna keep on going. Like the Rian Johnson Star Wars trilogy that's still on the books, but they did not mention it. So we'll go to John. What was your biggest surprise of the Star Wars announcements?
I like the announcement that or a surprise that it's been rumored, right? But Hayden Christensen returning to the Star Wars fold, and I'm mostly surprised about the fan reaction. Like I wasn't a huge fan of the original trilogies. I've only really seen the first one in its entirety, and I remember people hating on this guy, like hard hating him, everything he did, Jumper, everything he did, and then the amount of love that I'm seeing on like toy groups and social media and stuff like that of him returning and them being like, hey, you know what, like welcome back, like type thing. Like I think that's really surprising. I think that's cool that, you know, maybe that version of Star Wars, or the, you know, like I'm sure he probably straddles the line between, oh man, biggest regret, biggest great thing. So it's nice to see that he can come back, and the fact that they called him like coming back to play Darth Vader. So like, is he gonna wear the suit? Is he just gonna be the same thing he was in the movie before or whatever? But I thought that was exciting for me, I thought.
And to the point, John, is that everyone didn't like him, but once they saw the new trilogy, they're like, "Oh, it could be worse." Yeah, we're welcome back in open arms because we got another trilogy that's worse than that trilogy. So everything all of a sudden doesn't seem so bad anymore. Rob?
Well, to that point, though, Stu, they didn't announce a Jar Jar show, so there are still some things of the prequel trilogy.
Jar Jar's out there. He's doing.
They announced him in the new action figure line, and people are actually like, "Yo, I want that figure." So maybe the love's coming back.
Yeah. So for me, a twofold. One was I was very surprised Patty Jenkins directing Rogue Squadron, and I actually really liked her announcement about that, you know, rollerblading at the Air Force on the strip, the tarmac, and then sitting in her car, taking the blades off and throwing on the orange jumper suit and talking about how her dad was a fighter pilot. So, and seeing her walk to an X-Wing. That was awesome. That was really cool as an announcement. The one thing again that surprised me that we didn't get is that they announced the Obi-Wan show, because we know that they've already started filming that, but they're already.
I don't think they have.
I think I think principal photography has somewhat commenced already. But we don't have any information. Like apparently they've been shooting the Boba Fett show. And there was zero announcement, even if they weren't shooting it, even if they're still in principle on that one as well, there was no announcement on this. So it makes me wonder why, like sometimes the devil in the details is what's not there. And so it makes me wonder what exactly is it that we are there. Why would they not mention it when it's?
We mentioned this in the previous pod. Is that means maybe Pedro Pascal is no longer here. So that may be, you know, the Mandalorian is a different Mandalorian. So that would be interesting to see, because again, there's no Pedro Pascal news. It's basically just filming, but that show's gonna be released next year in December, right? So
well, yeah. So I think you had written down October 30th of. But yeah, no, I think they announced that Mandalorian season 3 is going to be around Christmas time. So
yeah, well, that one was now streaming. So I think that's
right. Sorry. Yeah. So season 3 will be sometime around the holidays of 2021. Yeah. So that's about it.
Andre?
I think the shocking thing, or not shocking, but the thing I'm looking most forward to
is not looking forward to. Biggest surprise?
Biggest surprise. Biggest surprise for me was the continuation of Star Wars Visions. I think if anybody knows the history of what Star Wars Visions is, it's different people in different realms of creative areas giving their interpretation of Star Wars. And this time they're tapping anime studios. And I'm super stoked for that, because Dark Horse, I think, led the way years ago with a Star Wars Visions graphic novel, and it showed us the origin of General Grievous. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. It doesn't matter, if you hear me talking and hear and you think I actually don't like Star Wars, you definitely got another thing coming. But one of the best interpretations of Star Wars for me was Genndy Tartakovsky's Clone Wars. And I think when you're looking at how other people envision Star Wars, I think they are choosing people who are actually more passionate than some of the people that are currently making it and stuff. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what anime studios can do with it. Also, on the Star Wars Visions front, Boba Fett's new costume is very, very, very similar to the Sideshow line, which is, I believe, called Star Wars Visions, and they did a line of statues with different interpretations of characters like Vader, Obi-Wan, Darth Maul, and of course Boba Fett and stuff. So yeah, so it's super cool to see people that I think probably, you know, love Star Wars as much as I do, and they're like, wouldn't it be cool if it looked like this and stuff. So
Yep, that's cool. John, what are you most excited about from the Star Wars slate?
Well, it wasn't a lot. Like, I guess I could really get hyped for like the Rangers show with Cara Dune, potentially Cara Dune. Yeah, potentially. We don't know what it is, but you know, I'm a sucker for a cop show. So I'm kind of excited for that. And then the whole the Ahsoka Tano series, because I did really love seeing that character in Mandalorian. I still can't get into the animated version of her. I saw like a whole YouTube thing about like how they started her off purposefully as being annoying kid or whatever, and then grew her into a really good character, and then supposedly Filoni like really did wicked stuff with her in Rebels. So I'm looking forward to seeing that and being able to catch up on Clone Wars and Rebels and learning more about this character.
And I think that I also probably didn't do as much detail in putting my notes together. I think we have to remind ourselves that all the Disney Plus stuff, there are tiers. Like some are limited and event series, and I think event series is basically a one shot.
Yeah, I think it's like 3 episodes or something like that.
Like
or I don't
a couple
know.
episodes, and then they probably won't do another season, as opposed to a limited series, which is like The Mandalorian. It's 8 episodes each year. Like Obi-Wan, I think is an event series. Like they're doing one season and they're like, we're done. So I think that as much as we talk about so much content, and Marvel, I think Loki guaranteed a season 2. Like I don't even know idea anymore.
Yeah, I think Loki was announced for season 2. So Falcon and Soldier haven't been though.
So I think Falcon Soldier may be a limited, like a 6 episode, and they're done. So I think it's going to be interesting to your point. Like not everything's going to continue on as a show. Some of them are just going to be, best or worse, like the Marvel Defenders, where it's like 6 episodes of trudge, and then they're like, and we're washing our hands of it. So
as long as they don't have Danny Rand reprising his role as Iron Fist,
I think we're good. I don't think Danny Rand's going to show up again. So I think we're going to be okay.
Whatever that guy is, whatever the actor's name is.
Yeah. Finn. Yeah. Anyways, Rob, what was the most thing? What are you most excited about
in life, or for this announcement? Because I gotta tell you, Christmas is around the corner, and I'm excited.
What is good in life, Conan?
Steel is power.
No, that's incorrect. There's 3 things that are good in life.
You
don't know the answer, Rob, then you don't know the answer.
Well, I already said what I was kind of excited about. I'm excited for the Rogue Squadron and stuff. I'll be honest with you. Again, it kind of goes back to what I had brought up with the Marvel stuff. There is just a shit ton of information and a whole bunch of announcements of stuff that's coming out, and it's very overwhelming. Will we see all of these? Like, will they actually have appear in the light of day, or are they just announcing it to placate fans? I don't know. I'm excited for it. Here's what I'm not excited for is that all these announcements and all these future projects have meant that in Canada, we are getting a massive price increase on Disney Plus, an extra $3 a month, which is huge. In the US, it's only $1. I'm not sure how you figured that out economics wise. But this is the problem, is that you're making all these announcements, you're putting a whole bunch of money on the table, and now you're asking people who have already been paying for a service to now be paying a lot more. So these shows have got to step up and be high good quality. Otherwise, if you have too much, we talked about saturation on the Marvel side of this. If you have too much and it's costing too much, people are just going to be, they're out. It doesn't matter because there are other ways to get this content. So Disney, Netflix, and everybody else, you all got to be careful of how much you're increasing your prices.
Andre, what are you most excited about?
I guess I kind of bled into that with the Visions, so I apologize for combining my 2 answers.
I tried to correct you.
Vision sounds cool.
But okay, there we go. All right, John, what's the biggest letdown?
Biggest letdown. I don't know. Like Andor, I have zero interest in. But I didn't really.
When they said Tony Gilroy and a spy thriller,
I don't know. I didn't like Rogue One. So I like stuff that in Rogue One, like characters and designs and toys and stuff like that, of course. Also like they revealed the Lando series, but they don't tell you who's Lando. They don't say Billy D. Williams. They don't say Donald Glover. Like, you guys really don't know, and you need to keep that tidbit from us. Like, that seems kind of silly. And I was gonna say lack of any Luke Skywalker stuff, but Andre mentioned that Vision show, so maybe he'll get a feature. Like, I feel like I'm getting like zero love for my boy. So
I think Mark Hamill doesn't want to do anything anymore. So
No, I don't care. I'll
Are
take
you
someone
talking
new.
like
I'll
recasting, having a younger, like a different?
yeah, I'll take a younger guy, or I want a cool animated thing. Like, I asked a stupid question the other day. I was like, is
Armie
Luke
Hammer as
Skywalker?
Luke Skywalker.
Well,
Shut
to
up.
be fair, there has been fan pictures of Sebastian Stan as
Yes.
Yeah.
Luke
I
Skywalker.
want
And
to
that's the one
see
that
this.
you're like, oh,
I-
he looks surprisingly pretty good with the
Yeah, this is my favorite character, and he's not really represented. Like, is he in any of the animated show? I asked a dumb question. I was like,
just staying away
is Luke Skywalker in Clone Wars? And Pat's like, no, dummy, because Clone Wars is before. And I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, it's a dumb question, but I was like, where can I see more of this character? But you can see him in the comic series. He's a very prevalent character in the Star Wars comic series, and he actually gets to be really cool in that. So I do recommend you check that out. But I'm surprised to not see. Yeah, I'm surprised to not see. Yeah, I'm surprised to not see anything like involving this character, and it feels like they're just like I don't know, like I guess Skywalker is like a burned name or something like that.
It's so divisive. There's no point of having him because the way that you did him dirty in the movies, like there's nothing to come back from. Like you.
Oh, they can totally redeem it. They need to be.
Did you guys see that meme where Ahsoka Tano is like, his name is Grogu, and then she pauses. Grogu Skywalker. And I was like, that would be the funniest thing ever.
I know Andre.
Yeah, but hopefully he's in that Vision series.
There's just, I think the problem with Skywalker is that they've used it as a crutch for so long in Jedis that's why they went the Mandalorian route. It's like has nothing to do with it to kind of do something. Just so we
that's
don't
fine.
have those
I'll stick to my comics. He's really cool in the comic series. So
yeah, and I agree. But again, like if casting another Luke Skywalker probably would have been another Gong show too. Like who's going to play young Luke Skywalker and all this other stuff that goes with it. It doesn't really intersect with the way that the movies were going, and that's canon as well for the Star Wars universe. So it was always going to be it's probably easy for them to say forget about all the Luke Skywalker stuff, and that's what screwed them too. Because when actors like that die, or something happens, then all of a sudden they have to rechange everything as well. So, and they're not recasting. That was the whole problem with that whole series. They just should have done it decades in the future and not even had the Skywalkers. And I think most of us have been fine with it. Rob?
Yeah, I was trying to think of what my biggest disappointment was. My first instinct to say Droid Story, because if you grew up in the 80s and you were stuck on global TV Saturdays and Sundays watching the 8 episodes of Ewoks and Droids for about 2 years, the same 8 episodes, you were pretty much ready to, have a
wicked
diet,
theme song though.
Yeah. So, but I actually think that, it was interesting because this was an investor's call that they kind of made it almost into like a hybrid D23 announcement. I don't know what the future direction of Star Wars is. And that is my biggest disappointment, is that these Disney Plus shows are tied to the current continuity, the past 9 movies, the Skywalker saga, however you want to do it. You've got Patty Jenkins with this one-off Rogue Squadron. We don't know what Taika Waititi is doing, but what is the future of the Star Wars cinematic universe? And it seems that there's absolutely zero plan going forward. So
yeah, everything's in the past. Yeah.
For me, I don't know what their intention is. Maybe they won't announce it till next year's D23, because they were supposed to do a D23, I think, this year. Obviously, it got postponed. So maybe they'll announce something next year. But if you're making all of these announcements, I'm just surprised that there wasn't some type of
to be fair,
here's something, and we didn't really.
But I think Rob, you mentioned it before. This was not a movie presentation. This was all about Disney Plus and the value that it presents to the shareholders and like how we're going to make money. We talked about the fact they're on pace to get like 270 million subscribers by 2024. So, and to your point about Star Wars not having a direction, I think it's plus that it's open, because the crutch has basically been, it's a Skywalker saga, and we were stuck that it had to be about them. So now the fact that they can do something different, I'm kind of excited to see where they go. Like, because the thing with Marvel is that they relied so much on Tony Stark, and now they have to wean themselves off an actor, and you don't want to be beholden to one person, because as we've learned in life, like one person could screw up a whole franchise if something bad happens to them, or some sort of weird situation. They pass away as well. Like everything was based on Black Panther, Chadwick Boseman, and he passed away, and now you're kind of stuck holding a bag that's half empty, going, "What do we?"
No, I agree, but Stu, and I don't want to get into the weeds too much on this, but the problem is that this is what you just said was an investors meeting of saying, hey, this is how we're going to make money. And they focused a lot on the streaming aspect, very little information about theatrical. So I've already made that point about that there was no sizzle reels or anything. But yes, you have a repetitious income stream coming in with new subscribers on a monthly basis and retention. But you also, if you're an investor, if you were somebody who is a shareholder in Disney, you want to know what the future is going to be theatrically. And I know that it's a different conversation because everything that's going on and we have no clue. But if there was going to be one property that is going to at least give people a glimmer of hope and say, in 2025, we have a whole new Star Wars trilogy coming out, being helmed by this person or whatever, then at least, or something, then I think then that shines the light that if Disney are holding the fort saying we are releasing Black Widow theatrically, we're not moving off of that, then Star Wars ought to have been doing something else because it's a galactic, no pun intended, entity. And as much as Patty Jenkins and Rogue Squadron is a great announcement, you needed something else for the Star Wars universe. And I just thought, as an investor, that was missing. Not that I'm an investor in Disney, but I'm just saying that was what was missing. So I'm just kind of surprised.
Yeah. Andre, your thoughts?
Okay, so this is gonna take a little while. My biggest
I'll put a timer on Andre, but yeah.
my biggest
Choose your top three. Choose your top two.
Yeah. My biggest disappointment, of course, is no announcement of the Dave Filoni follow-up to Rebels and stuff. Rebels has been done now for 3 years. Left on this perfect epilogue, and this could have been the best way, just announce, hey, Filoni's working on the quest to find Ezra or whatever. Sure, it might be what's in the Ahsoka show or whatever, but like it would have been just nice to hear what Filoni
Or the
is
Mando
doing.
one. Could be sorry to interrupt, Andre.
It could be, but
bad.
For me, like I'm saying, like what I wanted to see, I wanted to hear about that because honestly, that's probably the only Star Wars right now that I'm really
passionate about,
caring about that story. And it's the only story that they set up to come out. Like all these other Rangers of the Republic and all this stuff, like this is all out of left field, right? Like they could literally say, hey, we're doing a follow-up to Rebels, and that instantly gets people to just, okay, what's this about? I'm gonna watch Rebels. My second point is going to follow up on what Rob was just talking about, and also what you mentioned, Stuart. Disney, for Star Wars in particular, has no vision and no direct direction. They are literally playing with the same rules that they did when they bought the company, and they are sticking so closely to the original trilogy. Every new show that they announced and movie literally takes place between the end of Revenge of the Sith to the Mandalorian timeline. Okay, so they're not moving away. They're not taking a chance. They're not building. They mentioned High Republic, but they didn't show anything. And without what Star Wars is an idea. Star Wars is a wide open place to play on. And before the prequels came out, and it was kind of this new vigor for Star Wars video games, Star Wars novels, and comic books, there was one time period where you couldn't touch. And that was the Skywalkers. Literally, Lucas licensing says you can't do anything with these main characters. So all of a sudden, you had all these like novels and stuff set in the past. You had novels set far into the future. The main novel series that Timothy Zahn did, touched on and went forward with the main characters, but it kept going forward. It kept going forward, right? They created new things. They created new circumstances, new dilemmas, new situations, and stuff like that. And right now, to me, it's cool that they're filling out that area. But realistically, we know we're going to butt up to episode 7, and then we know kind of how that ends. So for me, I would have loved, like Rob said, hey, what's the next thing going to be, or who are we tapping to do this? Instead they're just literally going, oh, I guess what I'm saying is they're playing it safe. Okay, let's finally give them a Rogue Squadron movie. Okay, check. Let's finally do, Ahsoka. We've been really, back ending her, check mark. They announced that there's going to be a show called Acolyte, which, uh, talks about a Sith, but we don't know when that's what's going to, take place and stuff like that. Doubling down on the Mandalorian by giving us a Boba Fett show. They're just playing it safe in a time where I think they need to show creativity. They need to reestablish that Star Wars is the juggernaut that it is. It is inspirational, it is imaginative, and it is the forefront of basically sci-fi space opera, redefining what a movie can be visually and storytelling and audibly. Look at what Lucas did. Like the word visionary doesn't do enough, and I think they need that, and it's they need somebody who can not only do it, like I said, from story wise, but technology and push it. So are the investors going to be happy in what they heard? Of course, because they're just sticking with the era of stuff that people like and bringing back fan favorites without saying, okay, yeah, this is kind of our direction. Now, maybe you'll say, yep, that's okay, because this was just an investor. They're going to talk about that in the D23 when it comes. But I think this all leads back to, there was a lot of cry and a lot of talk that Kathleen Kennedy was stepping down. And, she was front and center with all of this. Jon Favreau was not here. Filoni was not here. And I know it's an investor thing, but again, like, this torch needs to be handed off to anybody but her. She's done her stuff, and whether you've liked it or not, she has made the money, but it's time to put the lightsaber in somebody else's hand and let's go.
Yeah, she hasn't made them as much money as they wanted. Andre, to your point, it's money, but they wanted $2 billion, not $1 billion that they got from the Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree with your sentiment. I think the interesting thing that people were, and I'm reading a lot of people buzz on the internet, was that the Mandalorian, the Rangers of the New Republic, and the new Ahsoka show all follow the same timeline. And there's been seeding thoughts of Thrawn being the big overarching villain, potentially for all three shows. Like, he could be the big bad guy for everyone. And that would be interesting, at least for direction for those three shows. That Thrawn is such a threat, it's going to be all three of them are going to have to deal with it. And maybe it's the event movie where they have to gang up together and take out Thrawn. Because if this season ends, it's not Gideon because Gideon is probably being told by someone else, the next baddie. So this is like the chain of, like, you're the bad guy. No, actually, it's the next bad guy. Just like what happens in our favorite Metal Gear Solid. You're the bad guy? No, actually, you're not the bad guy. It's this guy's the bad guy. You're the bad guy? No, actually, it's this bad guy. So I feel like maybe they're potentially best case scenario that introduces Thrawn, and that Ahsoka will do it, because that was her arc. The whole thing is like, where is Thrawn? And if Filoni is given the reins for this universe of the TV shows, and maybe that's what the arc is, and maybe the big villains that as the Empire said, we have to move to the Outer Rim, and that's where Thrawn is coming back, and that's where Ezra is, then we'll see what happens. It could be something exciting on that side. But to your point, you're right. It's Star Wars is a huge franchise, and it's not given the right pomp and circumstance on the theatrical side. The TV show at least looks nice. It's moving towards it, but I think they're missing, the easy opportunities to bring it back to where its grandeur was when it's a giant space action movie that has some sort of direction. And I think they were too busy trying to close out the last series and they missed the goal of what Star Wars is. It's like, we just got to finish the Skywalker thing and we're going to move on, and not realizing that if you screw that up, then everyone's going to be gone anyways. And that definitely happened, where everyone said, F this, I'm out. So, yeah. Do you have any additional thoughts, Andre? Sorry, about.
No, I you know what, I think what they are doing is they're trying to seed something for absolutely everybody.
Yeah.
And we did hear, there was, Patty Jenkins texting is that, oh, I'm gonna look at the Rogue Squadron novels and give us something new and stuff. And it's great that they're doing that, but I think there's also something to be said that, there's a reason why people are artists there, and this comes from, directors, artists, writers. They have to have the ideas themselves. They can't do it by committee all the time. You can't be like, oh, let me throw out this nugget and then take all the internet feedback and all of this and then change it. They have to lead, and then we've got to be like, oh damn, this is great. I think this affected Rob's favorite show, Lost. I think it had a direction, and then the internet figured it out, and they're like, well, I guess we can't do that. No, you can still do that, because we're not going to know exactly what you're thinking. And if you're a great creative person, then you're going to do it, and you're going to awe us, and you're going to make us fans just lose our shit. If a couple of us guessed it, who cares? There's billions of people on the planet. It's bound to happen. Agreed. But I think they're just being, fearful and stuff. And like I said, this should be a time for guys like myself who grew up on Star Wars to just be absolutely just like, oh my God, this is all like absolutely amazing. Like, I remember growing up and being in like grade 6 and 7 when new Star Wars novels came out. That's all we got. And I bought hardcovers back when I couldn't afford them. I want to be that excited again. And this doesn't do it, So I'm hoping that they, that the imagination can be let loose again. Like, even I know I've mentioned it before, like stuff like the Old Republic, like the guys who made those Old Republic cinematics, God, they love it. They get it. They know it. Tap some of those people. Let's hear that. You don't have to go with the DB Weisses and the people making, the Game of Thrones team. Like, again, where are they now? Oh, Ryan Johnson says, get people who are doing it and proving it in other things.
They cashed in
novels,
and now they're on Netflix.
What?
They cashed in and now they're on Netflix.
Oh no, I know that, but that's I'm happy for that. I'm like, because again, like, I think there's so many people to do it, but let's hope that a couple of these things just are smashes and take us to hyperspace, man.
I agree with you. I think you're right. There are lots of creatives that are not given the opportunity because they are positioned as animators in cartoons or in video games, and there's a stigma to it. Because remember, when we were kids, you couldn't be on TV shows and be a movie star. You can't do both. You're either a movie star or a TV star. So there was a time when the kids don't remember, like, all this Disney Plus stuff about actors like Tom Hiddleston jumping back and forth. That didn't happen when we were young. It's like when Bruce Willis jumped out of like TV shows, he's like, I'm never going back to a TV show ever again. He's like, I am Die Hard and that's it. Like, same thing with Chevy Chase, same thing. But now it's a new world where there's more acceptance. You can get directors, like the first director Deadpool was in animation, and same with Brad Bird. Like, Brad Bird, to all his, we love him in Pixar, got a live action film. Some of it worked and some of it didn't, but nonetheless, it's opening up the avenues. And I think in a few more years we're going to get that. But I think video games to TV is still a little bridge too far. But maybe without change, maybe they can be consultants. And let's hope, to your point, that in the next few years, Fellaini is, maybe Kathleen Kennedy is just the face.
Maybe he's training up.
Fellaini is just like in the background. Like, he's getting reps he got it from Lucas. Now he's getting it from Favreau. And maybe he's learning it from Kathleen Kennedy. And now he's doing something else next. All we can do is get better from before, Andre. To your point, the hope is still there. There's always a new hope. We've got what we got, but it doesn't mean they can't get better. And just like in Marvel, it doesn't mean they can't get worse. So there's always a nice thing about it, is that there's always ebb and flow. Like, we talked about Batman movies too. They got better, they got worse, they get better. Just like Bond movies, they're all over the place. And I'm looking forward to your thoughts, Andre, in the future podcast when we talk about Bond. There have been some stinkers and there have been some good ones in Bond. So inevitably, this is where we're at in a culture and our media. Like, there's always gonna be good and bad. And hopefully we all hope in our hearts that we'll get to a place where we can enjoy it. And to your point, I know, Andre, you love Star Wars and you're not here to poo on all of it. It just, sometimes it's not for everyone. And we all have expectations. So that's it. But the thing, Andre, is that you have passion for it, and everyone can tell that's what it is. I think we're all in that point where, for me, it's my Star Trek nerdism is kind of a big deal too. Like, I can go crazy on that front. So that is pretty much, we're going to wrap up there. Any other final thoughts before we go? Anything else now that we've talked about that? Do you have any, John or Rob, do you have anything else that you want to mention before we close it out?
No.
Okay.
Good.
So John and Andre, when people are listening to this, we will be in day 3 of lockdown. Let's talk to how we can support you guys, how we can help you guys during this time of need.
Yeah, so definitely follow us on our social media, the Facebook and the Instagram, Heroes World Online. We'll be posting as much stuff up there as we can. All the new releases, comics in theory are gonna still be going. So we'll post like all the Marvel, DC, whatever stuff. So you can shoot us messages. And you can email us sales.heroesworld@gmail.com. Us. And then I'm trying to think of what else. If you're on the YouTube, Facebook, no, sorry, YouTube, please give us a sub and like and share it around. And if you're listening to us on the audio, Apple Podcasts or Spotify, whatever, definitely subscribe. Give us a rating, review. Yeah, Heroes World Podcast. So search Heroes World Podcast. It'll pop up. It'll be in the link of this YouTube as well. But yeah, just hit us up. Whatever we did it before during lockdown. People hit us up with messages. We arranged everything we could, curbside, delivery, shipping, that type of stuff. Whatever you need, we'll figure it out.
Andre?
Yeah, so we're gonna be doing curbside. As John says, message us. You could even message our Instagram. You could message us on Facebook. Message the store. We're gonna be posting up a lot of pictures on our Facebook, and they'll link to our Instagram. If you're interested in any of that items and merchandise that we are putting up there, just ask the question or reach out, say, hey, yeah, I want one. How can we arrange it? Also, we will be at the store, and you can give us a call. We'll try our best to arrange curbside pickup times for you as well, and make the transition as safe as possible. And then once again, I will ask everybody, please share, like, comment on any of the posts that we have. If you comment that, even saying that's cool, or nice action figure, good looking cover on a comic, that will also help that post circulate the internet. And we're going to need every bit of help. So if you can't support us by purchasing, which we know a lot of people right now they're not in the position, like, a lot of people are going to be having restricted incomes and stuff, to share a post or to like a post. Give us a what do we call it? A rating on Facebook, or a rating on Yelp, a rating on Google. Talk about an experience that you had at the store. Just tag us and share our posts. That helps a lot.
Rob?
Yeah, you can find me on the interwebs, Twitter, Instagram at Rob Gadet. You can tune in every Monday live at 8:00. John and I do the H-Dubs Sidekicks Show. If you're listening to this on the 16th, that means this coming Monday was the 21st, and we'll be talking Superman 4, The Quest for Peace versus New Mutants, which was the worst movie. We have a funny feeling which one's flying into the finals on that one. And as well, I would suggest that if anybody is looking for recommendations or whatever, tune into past Sidekick episodes, which you can find on any streaming service or YouTube, because John always talks about what's new in the stores that week, including books and merchandise. So you can find us there.
Awesome. So again, thank you all for listening to us ramble and talk. Please support the store in any possible way, whether it's this store or any local store possible. Please, it's not the big boxes that need help. It's a small store. So anything that you can do for any store in general, please support, help them. Small business is really important and key, because guess what? The Walmarts and Costco's are going to be here. They're going to be like the big gulp in Wall-E. They're going to survive longer than all of us. So let's make sure that we can help small business, because again, they're the ones that need your support at this standpoint. Like, subscribe, all that fell stuff, the bell, as all the cool kids would say online. But be safe out there, my friends. Be safe. Look after the ones, especially the holiday season. But get your gifts, buy them at Heroes World, share it with everyone, and have a good day. So thank you so much. See you all later.
You guys.
Bye,
Bye, everyone.